What's up, YouTube family? And on today's episode of Keeping It Real Politics, we're going to keep it real on all cops aren't bad cops. In the aftermath of the George Floyd murder up in Minneapolis, Minnesota, the policeman that killed him, we're always told there's always a contrarian mindset on behalf of people that always want to minimize the death of somebody by hands of police, where they try to say that all cops aren't bad cops, which let's be clear from the outset that all cops are not bad cops. We know this to be true. Everybody, I'm sure, has somebody who's a friend or family member who's a police officer, and based upon their personality, based on the fact that you know them, we want to believe that they're the good cops. So let's run with the fact that a lot of the people that you know who may be police officers are good cops. So now that we have that out of the way, let's also acknowledge the fact there are bad cops, and they're the ones that we want to focus on right now. Because again, there's always the argument that, well, every cop isn't a bad cop. But let's use this situation, the George Floyd situation, as a microcosm of what we're talking about. And the people who want to be contrarian and say that all cops aren't bad cops, they want to use an unrealistic number to say that they're not all bad. They'll say 99% of cops aren't bad. Well, if we look at this George Floyd situation as an example, what's the probability of four cops and all of them are bad? There is not one single cop in this situation that's free of any blame whatsoever with this situation. If we're to believe that 99% of all cops are good, then at least three of them would have done something to prevent George Floyd from being murdered. But instead, all four of them did nothing, and they were guilty for this man dying. And so there were bystanders that were standing by who tried to on camera tell the police officers, "Look, you're going to kill this man. You need to stop." They had the opportunity, so we can't say they didn't have the opportunity to not kill this man, but yet they did. And what needs to happen ultimately is their justice needs to be served to these police officers, because for every bad cop that is able to continue working, the good cops get their name dragged through the mud. And so the good cops should be the main ones out in the front, making sure that these bad cops are held accountable. Because if it's your livelihood at stake, if people are looking at you as if you're one of the bad ones, but you're one of the good ones, but you don't say anything, then there's really no difference between the two, right? So what needs to happen ultimately is the bad cops need to be weeded out of the system. And I'm not just saying fired from one police department to go work at another one. That's not a punishment. Nor is the fact that they don't get jail time. What needs to happen moving forward is that all the bad cops need to not only be fired, but also need jail time. And in addition to that, what needs to happen is the money that would have been going towards a pension needs to go as restitution to the victims' families, because that will end this really quickly. Because the only thing that this country seems to understand is money. And if money gets taken out of the pockets of those who are committing crimes and not being punished for them, then that's when it will stop. That's the only way it'll stop. And so the district attorneys, they always want to run their campaigns saying, "I'm tough on crime," but that happens to be just for the people on the lower end of the socioeconomic ladder. The police officers, the people within politics who are guilty of crimes, they look the other way with them. So until there's a consistency with application of the law, then we cannot proclaim ourselves as this great democracy that wants to be shown throughout the world as this example of great government. We're nothing more than a banana republic if the police officers are able to get away with murder scot-free and kill with impunity. There's got to be a rule of laws that applies equally to everybody. If a regular civilian killed somebody the same way that the cop that killed George Floyd killed somebody, there's no doubt in this world he would already be arrested. He would already be set for trial for murder. But this cop, because he hides behind the badge, he's able to get away with it, or at least he thought he was able to get away with it. Because unfortunately, in this situation, the perfect storm had to happen for this to even be a case. It had to be filmed on social media, go viral, and the city of Minneapolis basically had to be burned to the ground before the cop was even arrested. Let that sink in for a minute there. Would a regular civilian have to be on tape to have been arrested? No. If bystanders say, "Hey, this guy killed somebody," they're at least going to arrest him. Now, whether he's convicted or not is a different story. But the fact of the matter is, with police officers, even if you have them on film, they have the arrogance to think they can get away with it. And this cop almost did, because even in the face of being on camera, this cop had his hands in his pockets, grinning at the camera, thinking nothing was going to happen to him. And only because the people rose up and said something did something happen to him. So, like I said, so the police need to be held accountable. The bad cops need to be weeded out of the system. That way, the good cops can remain in the profession that they love, and that the people can still get the protection that they need. Police do need to protect and serve, but that's what they need to do. And if they're not held accountable for that, then what are we doing? So we need to make sure that we pay police more, make sure we can attract a good crop of people that want to do the profession, and then get rid of the ones that don't belong in the profession. So that'll be this episode of Keeping It Real Politics. Let me know your ideas in the comments. Do you think that I'm correct in saying that the bad cops need to be weeded out and need to be prosecuted to the full extent of the law? Or do you believe in the blue lives matter, and then the police should be able to do what they want to do with impunity? So let me know what you think in the comments. And until next time, keep it real.